All right, ladies and gentlemen, just a friendly reminder, only third period has a vocab quiz. I'm recording, don't judge. Only third period has a vocab quiz, and third period is only taking 1 through 10 tomorrow. If you are in first or second period, you have no vocab quiz. Everyone has a test on Thursday, 25 questions, all multiple choice. Your focus, your map, which is entirely done on your own, is due on Thursday by 8:30, and your primary. We did it in class yesterday. There was no video. I think I figured out the problem with recording. So, with that being said, everyone should have their notebook out. And let's begin. At the top of your notes, you should, of course, have week 14. Oh my God, I'm just wishing away our existence. If you looked at your scope and sequence, I can't. Okay, motives for imperialism. We have 2 weeks of content when we get back, 1 week of review, exam week, so 4 weeks when we get back. So, motives for imperialization. Okay, is nationalism. What is nationalism, Lincoln?
Crazy about your country.
Crazy about your country. What does that mean, Lincoln?
You're really without you.
Sort of. Can anyone add some clarity to this? Colin. That leads to aggression. There you go. So, when we talk about nationalism, it's a deep devotion to one's country that leads to aggression. Okay? I am a patriot of the United States. I am not a nationalist. Never have, never will be. I believe the United States is the greatest country in the world. And if Caden comes up to me and says, America sucks, I'm going to say, no, it's great for this reason. Yeah, it's got some problems, but this is the greatest country. And he's like, yeah, but America sucks. I'm like, cool. I'm going to walk away. Okay? If I'm a nationalist, Caden comes up to me and says, America sucks. And I'm like, no, America's awesome. Let me tell you all the reasons why America's awesome. And he's like, yeah, but still America sucks. I'm going to have to beat the hell out of him. That's the only option. We agree? So, the difference between nationalists and a patriot is that there's going to be an aggressive tendency. You have to be the superior voice. Okay? So, England, right down. England is expanding because it needs to economically. Why does it need to? By the way, this is covered in your primary from yesterday. Why did they? Oh, you didn't do it. Damn it. Why, Andrew?
They lost the American colonies?
No.
Oh.
That was like a hell of a long time ago, didn't
I don't know.
Alex.
Because they have a lot of money and people.
No. Okay, the reason why they have to industrialize, if they want to continue to stay number one, they have to continue expanding in order to keep pace. Write it down. So they do this for economic reasons. They have to imperialize because they want to be number one. They are number one and they want to stay number one. Now the French are imperializing because of wounded ego. Okay? They lose the Franco-Prussian War. The French lose the Franco-Prussian War. So they conquer territories to say, I still got it. Yeah, with a little sass to it. I still got it. That's why they do it. Italy and Spain and Germany. So 3 countries. They don't really imperialize. Because they have too much, they've got chaos going on at home. What is happening in Germany during this time period? It's literally the same guy. It is literally the same guy. So the same thing's happening because we only talk about 2 Germans the whole freaking year. What is happening, Bronson? Unification of Germany. Part of it is the Franco-Prussian War. It's part of the unification of Germany. So who is leading Germany right now, Bronson? Yeah, so all this is happening. So Germany doesn't really start conquering a ton of territories. They do a couple small ones because they're focusing on issues at home. Okay? So, Spain and Italy aren't industrialized. So that's why they don't. I don't need you to know that. That's going to be a problem later, and you will know that later. But Japan. Put a big star. They are the first and only, right? First and only, please. They are the first and only Asian country to industrialize. They imperialize for ego. So they're doing it because they can. They want to. They like it. Okay? So, you need to know that they are going to fight in the Sino-Japanese War. It's Russia versus Japan. Keegan, I can see you. Write this down. This is a huge turning point in world history. Clear, like truly, truly. They fight in the Sino-Japanese War. Japan wins. What a big star. This is the first time an Asian country defeats a European. Russia ever. They weren't really fighting because the Ottomans aren't European. They're Middle Eastern. Mongols are Asian, but they weren't directly fighting with Europeans. Okay, you need to know this will embarrass Russia and cause them to make irrational decisions, which will lead directly to what war? World War I, which will directly impact the world as we are today. That's fine. Why? It is. What do you got?
How does Japan
Japan is industrialized versus a semi-industrialized Russia. And as we know from 2022 Russia, just because you're a very big country, does that mean you have a good military? No, because Russia is getting his butt kicked by Ukraine. Ukraine just took over a territory that's liberated a territory this week that's been under Russian control for over 2.5 years. That predates the Ukrainian invasion. So, when we think about Russia, are we thinking, wow, what a great military? No, that's the same thought we had after the Sino-Japanese War. So all of Europe is like laughing at Russia, like, oh my God, you couldn't even beat an Asian country? And so they're incredibly embarrassed. This is also the first year of Tsar Nicholas II's reign. Why should you know Tsar Nicholas II's name? Colin. He's the last Tsar of Russia. He's going to be executed in the basement of a random house in Nicholas II in 1919. No, but you will. What do you got? No, they're just trying to reconquer their borders. Yeah, they're not trying to invade Russia. They're just trying to kick Russia out. No, they can't conquer Russia. Are you kidding me? No one's conquered Russia. No one. No one. No one. No one. Napoleon tried. Hitler tried. No one. Okay, Mongols.
Yeah, so isn't that the first time Asia got Europe, or were they not really part of
They're not really part of Europe. It's like a weird thing. It's industrialized. Does that work? Were you satisfied? Alright. You need to know that after that, Japan gets Taiwan and Korea. They conquer it immediately and they begin colonizing China. No, they were just Chinese. Come in. Thank you. Oh, perfect. I don't have to move. Great. Can you guys up over here? Okay. You do need to, we'll talk about that later. Okay. Cultural motivations. Cultural and religious. Okay. They're going to use pseudoscience. Pseudoscience means fake science. So, pseudo news would be
Fake news.
fake news. Yeah.
Who's they? Japan?
Everybody. Well, Europeans mostly. Japanese do it a little bit too, but Europeans are like super good at it. They use pseudoscience. Now, I don't need you to write phrenology. It's stupid. Don't waste your time on it. But I'll tell you what it is. It is, have you ever seen those things that it looks like a skull and it tells you if you have a bump here, that means you're like super smart or like you're funny or like you're dumb. I don't know. But they look at like the bumps of your head and they can tell from the bumps of your head what your like strengths are and weaknesses and all that crap. It's complete bullshit. But that's phrenology. So they said white people have bigger craniums and that's why they're smarter. So God definitively made white people superior. Is that true?
No.
No! Fake news. They also do social Darwinism, which you do need to write down. What?
Is it just like conspiracies that they make up?
It's fake science, but yeah. Okay. So your next one is social Darwinism. It's based off Darwin's survival of the fittest. And it says that essentially because Europeans industrialized, aka the strongest, they have the right to take over everything. What?
Did the government, didn't European governments push to this country? Was it just?
Oh yeah. It's a whole cultural thing. Yeah. Europeans thought they were superior to everyone, and that's why they took over and didn't think twice. Okay, like we're going to talk about the scramble of Africa today and how it's divided up amongst Europeans, and they didn't invite any Africans to like be even there to hear. They literally talked about the rules of conquering Africa, and there's this explicit rule that says no killing white people. So can you kill the indigenous?
Yes.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. Yeah, you can kill as many indigenous as you can, but not a white person. Because they're important. What?
Did they literally say no killing white people?
Yeah, it literally says no killing of any European descent. Yeah,
What about like the Africans?
Afrikaans are white people.
Yeah, they're not the kill.
No, that's the British conquering. That's different. That's the Boer Wars. I'm talking Scramble of Africa. Okay. Just put a star and write they're going to force their culture, politics, religion, and education on them. On the indigenous. They're going to put their language, politics, religion, and education on the indigenous. Because obviously their religion, politics, culture, and education are significantly better, obviously. Of course. You hear my sarcasm, yes. And then you have religious ideologies. Missionaries are going to be the biggest part of it. Missionaries are going to be the biggest part of it. They are going to be bringing this to local. What you need to know about missionaries is essentially it's based on an interaction. If you convert to Christianity, you get access to schools and medicine. Huh? I can't hear you. You need to know that they use exchange of exchange of religion for medicine and education. Now, think back to Jesus. Even if you don't follow Jesus, do you think Jesus was like, you know what? We're not going to help people unless they're Christian. Does that sound like a thing Jesus would say? No. But guess what they were doing? That's what they were doing. All right. There are some positives to missionaries. They do set up schools, which is a positive. They do spread medicine into parts of the world that they didn't have access to that medicine. And they do end slavery. So there are some positives of missionaries. But I'd also like to point out, missionaries typically abuse their position of power and authority in these local villages, and not so great. Okay, economic motivations. Okay, the British East India Trade Company is going to monopolize India. What is a monopoly, Caden?
It's like when one company owns like all of
They eliminate
type
what,
of
Caden?
all competition.
There you go. So, Who controls India now? Hello? I just told you. Britain. Who's the only one buying Indian goods? Britain. Who's the only one allowed to sell Indian goods? Britain. Okay, that's why they have monopolies. So if you want anything that comes from India, which is tons of natural resources, precious stones, and obviously things like spices and stuff. Now, are spices going to be the #1 seller around the world? No, it's textiles. We're moving beyond it, but they do have natural resources. Okay. You need to know that the Dutch East India Trade Company is going to control Indonesia, which means they control the Spice Islands. So, like this week, your parents are going to use cardamom this week. It goes in your apple pie. Okay, where does cardamom come from? Spice Islands. It comes from Indonesia. So who is the only person selling Europe cardamom? And nutmeg. Yeah, the Dutch. Cinnamon actually comes from India as well. It comes
Why
from.
does it only say East India? Would it be East India?
Huh?
Maybe it's like Dutch East India. Is it only in
No, because this is the name of it. I don't know. Okay. You do need to know they also control the Strait of Magellan in South Africa. Oh, God, I'm miserable. Strait of Magellan in South Africa. Okay, so you need to know that imperialism is about finding raw materials, markets. When I say market, what does that mean, Marin?
Like consumers and buyers.
Yeah, remember I gave you the example of a factory in England makes toasters? Everyone who works in the factory owns a,
Toaster.
everyone in the town owns a,
Toaster.
and after enough time, everyone in England owns a,
Toaster.
so they gotta find somewhere else to buy the damn.
Toaster.
There you go. That's what they're doing with imperialism. Third thing, they need cheap labor, because paying Europeans, Alex, is very expensive. So, there's 3 reasons for imperialism. Now, you're going to put a star. They're also using it to build up the ego of European countries. Okay? Primarily, it's economic. But having the largest empire in the world does sound pretty sweet, especially for British. Sun never sets on England. Alright. Trading post. Oh, right. State expansion is your heading, please. I'm just like not into this today, and the AP Gov stresses me out. Here we go. Trading post empire versus imperialism. What is the difference between a trading post empire and imperialism? Zoe.
Trading posts are like in specific like spots. But, like, but like imperialism is like one.
No.
imperialist.
No, they're in particular spots too, I guess.
But
Olivia. No, because I don't want you getting confused with spheres of influence, because trading post empire is not a sphere of influence. Christine, you kind of think you had it, then you put your head down. I believe in you, and your pen matches your shirt, so that is amazing. All right, what else you got? No. Thomas.
Trading post empires have little dots to get somewhere to trade.
What
On the map.
the hell are you talking about?
Little,
No,
like,
this is a
posts.
simple answer. Ishan, help me.
Empires only control like the coastal area.
Thank you. They're on trading ports. Thank you, Ishan. Write this down because you clearly don't know it, except Ishan. Trading post empires are when Europeans only control a port, aka coastline. Ishan versus imperialism. Imperialism is what?
Controls like the entire area.
Yes, Ishan. Nice, man. Thank you. Okay. In a trading post empire, white people are only on the coast. So keep in mind, this is happening during a triangular trade. Yes, the Africans are capturing other Africans and bringing them to the coastline, and then the white people are buying them as slaves and shipping them off to Brazil and North America. In imperialism, white people are going in. They are going into the heart of Africa and they are taking over territory. Okay? White people are going to be seen in the continental center of Africa for the first time. Have you ever heard of a guy named John Ripley? Ripley's Believe It or Not? Yeah, he's one of the first white people to go wandering through Africa. That's why his Believe It or Not exists, because people couldn't believe the items and things he saw. He wrote for the New York Times, and every week he'd call in from Africa and give them a new column. And when he got back to the States after a tour of Africa, aka, wandering around stealing shit, he would go and post all of his stuff so people would go and see all of these things. That's why we have museums. They're not museums. Of it. That's how he got famous. Anyway. Okay. You do need to know the British are controlling Egypt. Now, cotton is nice, but the reason why they take it is for the Suez Canal, right, Alex? And what two bodies of water does the Suez Canal take up?
Mediterranean Sea and
Red Sea. Put your phone away. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Suez Canal connects the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea. It is started by the Egyptians. Write it down. It is started by the Egyptians, but finished by the British.
Did it take over? Or did they kind of
They just took it over because they saw the financial opportunity. Now today, who runs it? Egypt. It is like single-handedly funding the country of Egypt. Okay, you don't have to write this down, but please listen. Suez Canal is the most valuable piece of land in the world. They estimate that between 65 and 70% of all world goods go through it. About a year or two ago, I don't remember how long ago, do you remember a ship jammed it and literally stopped trade through it? And it had rippling effects throughout the economy. Now, the economy did not tank because of it, because it was just something that was going to be rectified. It took longer than they thought it would, but it was just like a small thing, but it did have huge effects on the economy. If a catastrophic thing happens to the Suez Canal, like it purposely gets blown up, it purposely, some sort of atrocity happens inside, it will literally shut down the world's economy. That's how valuable it is. It is so valuable to the world that it is actually protected by 15 different countries who send soldiers to represent the world's interest and protect it, including, of course, the United States, England, France, Germany, India, I believe, sends people, China sends people. Everyone is there to make sure, because if the Suez Canal goes kablooey or something, what happens to everyone's economy? Yeah, so everyone is there for the security of the Suez Canal, but who makes the money off of it today in 2022? Egypt. It gets taken from the British in 1957. You don't need to write that down. It's in Queen Elizabeth II's first year of reign. She loses one of the biggest money makers for the British in her first year as queen. What do you got?
What isn't like 100%
Because all world trade goes through it. Think about it. If you own the Suez Canal, you can charge a ship every time they go through, right? So you can control the world's economy. So it's so important. Hitler conquered it twice. He conquered it, and he gave it to Mussolini to protect. And Mussolini sucks, so obviously Mussolini lost it. So then he reconquered it. Because if you control the Suez Canal, you control the flow of oil. What has a huge impact on our lives? Oil. So that's why it's a huge deal. What do you got, Tom?
Is that Egypt's like main source of
Yeah,
income?
absolutely. Absolutely. Everything else is comical. Literally, everything else is comical in regards to it. I mean, it's not as crazy as like Dubai or Saudi Arabia with the amount of money oil makes, but like it is one of the few things that just keeps generating incredible wealth for a country. And Egypt has so much money now because of the Suez Canal and the fact that they've modernized and done all that. They're literally building a second Cairo out in the desert. That's how much money they have because of the Suez Canal.
It's a Cairo.
Cairo is the capital city of Egypt, and they are moving it into the desert.
Oh, that's
Yeah, they're rebuilding the city because the city is obviously an ancient one, and it's too congested, so they're moving people out. Cool, I'm gonna keep going. Olivia. French in Africa. What do you got?
So is this the route that Christopher Columbus was looking for, but like before it was moved?
I mean,
Does it go around that?
sure. I mean, sure. It's going to increase speed of travel and stuff like that. You can make it from England to India now with the Suez Canal, and I think they say like 2.5 weeks or something. When beforehand it would take almost a month and a half. So I mean that's pretty damn fast. Okay, French in Africa. You need to know they're doing settler colonies. So if I'm saying the French are doing settler colonies, are the British doing them? No, they're doing economic imperialism. They're only there to make money. Settler colonies mean the French are bringing their families, and you need to know Algeria. Algeria is going to keep coming up. After World War II, we're going to do decolonization. Algeria is going to be the one we focus on the most. They have the bloodiest civil war between Algeria and France. Algeria eventually will win. It's not a war you'd want to be a part of. And it's a huge, nasty, nasty, nasty fight. Today, Algeria, good place to be or bad place? Bad place. And we're going to talk about exactly why, because of colonization. What do you got, Colin?
why was it so bloody?
Just the atrocities, the French didn't want to lose it because the largest importer of French goods was Algeria, so by losing it, they lost a huge part of their economy. So they weren't going to give it up. All right, Scramble of Africa, here we go. Scramble of Africa is the division of Africa between Europeans by Europeans. I am conveniently leaving who out of the equation? Africans. It is going to dramatically increase competition. Write it down. It will dramatically increase competition and rivalry amongst Europeans. Well, that's not good. If I have an industrialized military and you have an industrialized military, what's going to happen if we fight each other? Lots of bad stuff, aka World War I is going to be the first big blow up. The first actual industrialized war is actually the Franco-Prussian War, and who wins it? Germany wins. Remember, French get sad and they go conquer other territories because they're sad. Alex, I've already asked you once. I don't like to do it twice. So, the competition is already happening. So, they do the Berlin Conference. So, Scramble of Africa is happening. They have competition amongst European nations, so they call together the Berlin Conference. It is called by Otto von Bismarck. Did I tell you this guy was going to keep showing up? Because he does. We haven't even hit World War I. Guess who was the leader of Germany up until World War I? Yes. This man keeps showing up. So, Otto von Bismarck calls the Berlin Conference and sets up rules, write it down, to avoid war amongst Europeans. He wants civilized colonization. What is funny about saying civilized colonization? There's nothing civilized about colonizing because colonizing is uncivil. But we'll deal with that later. Essentially, they talk about rules of claiming territory and not killing white people. They made no qualms about killing the natives. You can kill as many native people as you want. No one gives a shit. However, if you kill a white person, all the other Europeans are going to get involved. Huh?
It's called what?
Or civilized colonization. Okay. You need to know that there are only 2 countries not claimed in the Scramble of Africa. Is that hella impressive? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. The first one is Liberia. There's only 2 countries that aren't claimed. You need to know this. Hold on, I wrote it down. First one is Liberia. Liberia, I just need you to know Liberia is protected by the U.S. Just know that. Okay, you don't need to write this part. Liberia writes this really beautiful letter to the United States saying, hi, we believe in you. We want to be just like you. We think you're amazing. You know, we're really worried about these Europeans. Can you tell them not to conquer us? And for some reason, what do? We protect them. And I don't know why we do this to them, but not others, but here we are. So we say, don't touch Liberia. And all the other Europeans are like, oh, how annoying, America. And they say, fine. The second country is Ethiopia. And these people are bosses. They are amazing. Ethiopians are incredible. They beat the Italians. They beat the Italians. Now, the Italians are partially industrialized. They're not fully industrialized. But the Ethiopians beat them. Write it down. This is the only time Africans are going to beat Europeans for a very, very long time. So we will acknowledge it and we will celebrate it. Unfortunately, and you don't need to write this down, it's not going to work out long term for Ethiopia. In the 1930s, a guy named Mussolini is trying to avenge the fact of the embarrassment of Italy. So he goes down and massacres about 500,000 of them in about 2 hours. Because they staged a war, they staged a battle, and he just shot them from the skies and killed them. And yeah. So, not ideal. Long term, but short term, it shows that Ethiopia's boss. Yes? Unfortunately, they'll be paying for it in about 40, 50 years. Anyway, okay. So, you do need to know, this is going to embarrass Italy, which will cause Mussolini to rise in power later. Okay, so this is going to be a rallying cry for fascism. Oh, how fun. Okay, Boer Wars. This is where people struggle with, and honestly, it took me a couple times to get it as well. Okay, Boer Wars. You need to know the Dutch originally controlled South Africa. The Dutch originally colonized South Africa. A Dutch person in South Africa are called Afrikaners, aka white people of Dutch ancestry are called Afrikaners. With that being said, the British wanted the territory. So, we have 2 white countries fighting over South Africa. Who wins, the Dutch or the British? The British win. Okay? The British win, and they push the Dutch north. You need to know that. British win, they push the Dutch north. Well, when the Dutch get to the north, they find diamonds. And then who wants them?
The British.
The British. So we'll pick up that. Have a good day.